Jesus, I watched my parents love the real Jesus, and they made it easier for me. They made it much easier for me to go, oh, you're worth giving everything to, you know. So I would have these, I'm just going to give you little snippets because I don't, you know, when we were in this Nazarene church in Ohio, the one before the one you came to, I had this ongoing dream as like a kid, like 7 to 11, of this hill lined with flags from other nations up to a building, and I could never see the name on the side of the building.
Right.
Prayer house, everything. I never knew what it was. And I thought maybe someday I'll go there. And I would tell my parents. I loved hanging out with my parents' friends. They were my favorite. I loved kids my age, but I was like, get me out of youth group and get me back to the grown-up class where the glory's falling. And so I'd tell them about it, and we talk about it. And sure enough, I mean, I think in these dreams, I would often be on the platform or in the room somewhere, you know, and my mouth would be open. But I never thought of singing. Like I just never thought of doing worship. I knew I would maybe it would be a part of things. My family's so musical, and there were such worshipers. We worshiped all the time at home and with friends. But I didn't have like this sense that I was gonna be known for anything like that. So I just was like, Lord, whatever that means. I thought maybe it had to do with speaking, but then, you know, fast forward, the Lord lands me in Reading to visit with some friends, and I start climbing this hill, and I'm telling you, like, the presence of the Lord just fell all over me, because I thought, you have been talking to me about whatever is going to happen here since I was a little girl. And so it was like, you know, this huge, I didn't know what was going to happen. And now, not knowing what's going to happen to me, I'm about to cross this. I'm coming here. This is all I know. I don't know what you're going to do with me, but I'm coming here.
So for those of you guys who don't know, there's in Bethel Church, there's a hill that goes up, and on both sides it's covered in flags. Big building up on top of the hill, and so you ended up in Bethel. But let's rewind this a little bit further. And it's something that I've talked about over the years, here and there, you know, because. I met you, gosh, I think I might have been married like a couple of months, 2 months, 3 months.
Yeah, like barely.
I was just married.
Babies.
Yeah, we were all babies. How old were you at the time?
Oh man, I'm terrible. I'm like 39 now.
Okay, 30. I'm 41 in like a couple of weeks. So I think I was like 21.
Am I 39? I think.
It's happening. We're getting old, girl.
I don't know.
And maybe I'll with your permission, I'll throw up some of the pictures so they can see.
Please do. Bring them back.
I ended up. So a buddy of mine, Jamie Galloway, went out to this little Nazarene church, your father's church, that his youth pastor.
The head pastor, but he was like associate.
Okay, associate pastor, yeah. All I remember is just being like, dude, this guy's a baller. Like he loves the Lord.
Yes.
And vision for days. So my buddy goes out, does some youth meetings, and the kids come back from these youth meetings. And correct me if I get any of this wrong, okay? But the story was, Jamie goes out, does youth meetings. Were you there at those meetings?
With Jerry Nicewander.
Yeah, with Jerry.
With the young adults. It was the young adults on 242.
And I'd like to say this, like, when people ask me, have you ever seen a revival? There's 3 that I talk about that I would classify as a revival. And one of those was Worcester, Ohio, at your church. It blew my mind. And so Jamie goes out, does this youth meeting. These kids get touched powerfully. Yes. And there's no real understanding. No. They come back. I think it was a Saturday night they come back, I think. And
he ended up staying.
Yep. Saturday night. And kids come back and they go home and they're like telling their parents they're changed.
Yes.
And then your father, the head pastor of the church, I forget who, or Jerry, they worked it out so Jamie would speak Sunday morning.
Yes.
And he wasn't supposed to. During the Sunday morning, it breaks out.
Explodes.
And you go into how long nonstop
I want
daily
to say
meetings?
It was at least 3 weeks.
Okay.
At least, if not 4.
I feel like it was much longer than that.
Probably.
Yeah. Because I was there for a week and Jamie was there for almost a month before I came.
That's true.
And then Randy
then
came
I'm
after.
terrible at
I
math.
feel like it was 2.5 months.
I'm sure you're right. I think because I was such a mess the whole time, I don't even know if I would know where it started and ended, but yeah.
So daily meetings.
Yes.
With incredible testimonies.
I mean, till like wee hours of the morning, and people would go home, a couple hours of sleep, go to work and come back.
Yeah. You would hear stories of drug addicts driving by.
Yes. Because there was a flame. There was literally an orange flame at the top of the steeple.
Yep.
And people were pulling off of the road. Like, what's going on? Like, there's people in there. Is it on fire?
Yeah.
Like, they didn't know. And they're pulling in remember, we were like way past capacity.
Oh, yeah.
So remember that the foyer and the hallways that went around, every door was open so that the kids were on the stairs. Yeah. We were crammed in there.
It was amazing.
So beautiful.
And it just went and went. And I have a couple of really precious memories. One was meeting you for the first time and seeing you. And I will never forget the first day hearing worship and hearing you worship. It was evident that God was going to do something incredible with your life. I mean, you have favor, but I remember just being like, I've never heard a voice like this. And I travel and hear a lot of voices.
Of course.
But it was so raw, so real, so beautiful. Yeah. And so that was one of my highlights. But also, I had these snippets of memories of going into Jerry's office and opening up a file cabinet. It was just full of glasses. Like, people just leave their glasses on the chairs. No one was even really praying for that, but they would just come. Their vision would get corrected. And I remember him opening up, and there was like a drawer of 100 pairs of glasses in there. Yes. And this was in a place that your father loved the presence of the Holy Spirit, but still some people weren't really comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, like, our head pastor took the whole staff to Brownsville years prior. So they were hungry, but yes, nobody had ever been here.
Right.
And so there was still like, I don't know,
Yeah.
So it was just like everyone was learning at the same time.
Yeah. So that's when I met you for the first time. And I came out because Jamie had to go. So I filled in, I think, a week for him of these meetings. And it was every night, the presence of God. People would come from all over. People would get saved, healed, delivered.
So much deliverance.
And
because we had tons of, do you remember this? There were tons of witches that would come and then just leave.
Yeah.
Or, I hope some got saved, but it was, I will never forget some of that stuff. It was just like they'd come in on purpose because that area was known for being the capital of Satanism before.
Yeah, wasn't
the well
it like
of worship.
Anton LaVey's?
Yeah, he said if I could retire,
from there?
He said if I could retire anywhere in the world, I would retire in Worcester, Ohio.
Why?
It's set up on a pentagram.
Really?
Yeah, it's wild.
And it's the home of Rubbermaid.
When we
conspiracy. Whoa. No, I'm just kidding.
when we just for context, not because we want to spend much time on this at all, but the holiness of what happened. It's one of the reasons why I know the Lord came with such might and power, because there'd been so much bondage, and the remnant, like the wellspring